What's going on, guys? B Scott here with you, and on today's show, we got your tight end sit starts ahead of week 6. I'm going to go through a lot of tight ends, tell you whether I'd start them or sit them, and I got some streaming options for you. Obviously, there's some tight ends out with injuries, so keep it locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going over your tight end sit starts ahead of week 6. Week 5 is in the books. You saw Mark Andrews had a great day on Monday Night Football against the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm going to be going through and telling you a lot of the tight ends that obviously you're going to be starting for must starts, but then some stream options in case you're in a pinch and you need a tight end. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment. If there's a tight end I missed on or you want to hear more about a tight end, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice. So let's dive right into it. First off, you're starting Travis Kelce on any given week. It doesn't matter. He's playing the Washington football team. That defense looks terrible. It's been horrible this season. I can't believe how bad they've actually looked considering they were top 5 defense last year. You're starting Travis Kelce on any given week. Darren Waller going against the Denver Broncos defense that's very good, but you're starting him anyway. It's Darren Waller. He hasn't looked great. He hasn't put up these big numbers in weeks that you hoped from Darren Waller, but he's still been very productive, top 3, top 4 tight end options. So obviously you're starting Darren Waller. Mark Andrews, you saw it on Monday Night Football. Dominated the Indianapolis Colts. That secondary had no answers. Dealt with a lot of injuries, and man, he really put on a show, plain and simple. I like him again this week, obviously, going against the Los Angeles Chargers team. Could be shootout potential. You've seen on Sunday, the Chargers versus the Browns. And second most fantasy points to tight ends the Chargers have given up. So Mark Andrews, another smash spot this week. Should have another big day. Dawson Knox continues to impress, plain and simple. Just 3 catches, but 117 yards and a touchdown. Now, he's playing the Tennessee Titans. On paper, it looks like a bad matchup, but really, they haven't faced a lot of good tight ends. And it's the Buffalo Bills offense. Dawson Knox is an elite tight end, in my opinion, with 5 touchdowns on the season so far. So, obviously, must start Dawson Knox on a weekly basis. He's reached that level, set it and forget it. Dalton Schultz, almost on the similar plane. Plain and simple. Playing a New England defense that's good. That's been good to the tight ends for a long time. But 3 straight games with 6+ receptions, over 50 yards receiving from Dalton Schultz. I don't necessarily see that slowing down here. So I like Dalton Schultz also, even in a tough matchup. He's a guy you got to be starting on a weekly basis, considering there's just some tight ends that haven't been able to produce. So another tight end, TJ Hawkinson, really has been struggling over the last 3 weeks. Going against Cincy, they've given up 5th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. They've been pretty decent against tight end position, plain and simple. But you drafted Hawkinson as high as you did to start him on a weekly basis, unless you happen to get a Dawson Knox or get a Dalton Schultz. Then yes, maybe I would start him over Hawkinson. But I still think Hawkinson's got a lot. You know he's talented. I mean, that's why you drafted him where he was. I get it, just 8 catches for 74 yards over his last 3 meetings. But against Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to have to throw the ball to stay in this game. I like Hawkinson. You're going to be firing him here. Tyler Higbee on the road against the New York Football Giants. He hasn't been great, but he's been getting it done for the most part, considering how bad the tight ends have been. He's been settling in at that tight end 10 to 12 range on a weekly basis. So obviously, the New York Giants give up 10th most fantasy points to tight ends. I'm going to be starting Higbee more than likely if you have to, especially in a deeper option. If you have some of these better guys up top, obviously you're starting him over Higbee. But if you got to run Higbee out there, I don't have a problem with it. Should have a decent day. I've been on the downswing of Higbee for the most part, but I think he can get it done this week. Mike Gesicki on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's seen 6+ targets, 4 straight games with Brissett under center. You just got to fire him in your lineup, plain and simple. He's getting it done in the target share. And with the lack of pass catchers Miami has had due to injuries, you got to be firing Mike Gesicki here. Jacksonville hasn't been great against tight ends, so get Gesicki in your lineup. Hunter Henry, another guy for me. I actually love him this week, coming off a great game. 6 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown, back-to-back games with a touchdown, and he's got the Dallas Cowboys. Now, yes, their defense is decent, but not great against the tight end position. And on top of that, the Patriots are going to have to think about the game script. They're probably going to need to throw the ball out in this game. I like Hunter Henry. He's been upticking every single week over the last few weeks. He runs more routes than Jonnu Smith. He's the guy to own. Jonnu is really a touchdown-dependent guy in the red zone, and it hasn't came to fruition. So Hunter Henry, I like him to start this week. And then obviously Noah Fant going against the Las Vegas Raiders. Don't love the matchup. Last week, 3 catches, 20 yards. He's really been hit or miss. He's had games with 10 targets. He's had games with 3 targets. So I don't really love the matchup here with the Las Vegas Raiders, but at the end of the day, if you drafted Noah Fant and he's your tight end 1 and there's not very many good options out there, I'd probably be rolling Noah Fant out there just based on the talent-wise, and you know that he can see 10 plus targets in a game. So obviously Noah Fant, I'd probably be rolling him out here as a start. Now I got obviously a couple sits. David Njoku coming off a huge day for the Cleveland Browns. Over 150 yards, something like that in a touchdown. Broke off the big play. I don't like him this week, plain and simple. And honestly, Njoku has a lot of talent. He was talented coming out of college and really had high expectations with the Browns. And really, they've just utilized a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets, mixed and matched a lot of tight ends. So Njoku or any of the Cleveland pass catchers, for that matter, I don't really love this week. Going against the Arizona Cardinals, give up the fewest fantasy points to tight ends. So I know Njoku's coming off of that big week. I wouldn't be jumping on the train and starting him this week. Same thing with like Tyler Conklin. I got Tyler Conklin as a sit also. He just hasn't shown me enough to be warranting a start on a weekly basis. Him, Robert Tonyan, these types of players that are talented, but you're not seeing enough share for me to be warranting a start. At this point, Tonyan is droppable, plain and simple. So he's not a start for me either. No Tyler Conklin, no thank you. And then, CJ Uzomah is another guy. Had a big week, but you can't trust him on a weekly basis. I wouldn't be starting him either. I got a few streams this week, a couple guys that I really like. Obviously, Jared Cook. On the road against the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens giving up the third most fantasy points to tight ends. You complete shootout potential here in this game. And honestly had a quiet day, 1 catch for just 29 yards. But I think there's enough target share around there for me to be wanting to start Jared Cook in a plus matchup here against the Ravens defense that's given up a lot of fantasy points to tight ends. Zach Ertz. I love Zach Ertz in this matchup, Thursday Night Football. Playing Tampa Bay Bucks. No Dallas Goedert is looking like. Placed on the COVID-19 list. More than likely going to miss the game. Going to need 2 negative tests. And honestly, we're only 2 days from the game. So Zach Ertz for me is a must start this week against the Tampa Bay secondary that's really been decimated with injuries. Giving up 6th most fantasy points to tight ends. So Zach Ertz, a must start for me this week. Mo Alley-Cox, another guy that I love this week. Caught a touchdown last week. 3 for 50 this week. His snaps, his route running is upticking. And he's just outplaying Jack Doyle and out targeting him, plain and simple. So Mo Alley-Cox in a plus matchup this week against the Houston team. Giving up the most fantasy points to tight ends. I like Mo Alley-Cox as an option to stream this week. And then obviously another guy, Ricky Seals-Jones, coming off a decent day. Don't get me wrong. 8 targets, 5 catches, 41 yards, was targeted in the red zone a couple times. He's really filled in that Logan Thomas role, plain and simple, and eaten all of that target share. So where you were starting Logan Thomas on a weekly basis, I think Ricky Seals-Jones would probably warrant a start here going against the Kansas City Chiefs. 5th most fantasy points to tight end position. And then on top of that, the Washington football team's defense is not good. Kansas City's going to be able to score, plain and simple. You've seen what the Saints did to them. Just absolutely lit them up, especially downfield. Imagine Tyreek Hill, you know what I mean? So this game could have a lot of points to be scored. And the Chiefs defense, we know, is non-existent. Swiss cheese, plain and simple. Kind of looked like the Indianapolis Colts last night. But Ricky Seals-Jones, that's the guy that I like as a stream option this week. So there you have it. There's a lot of tight ends. Your must starts. A few sits, and then obviously some streaming options for those of you out there that might have Kittle or, guys on bye, things like that, already this week ahead of week 6. So once again, if you like the video, don't forget, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment. If I missed the tight end and you want to hear more about one, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to get back to you. And so for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.